Ever wonder what's really behind the headlines? Or why certain theories just won't go away? Dive into the world of the No Name Podcast, your go-to podcast for unraveling the mysteries of conspiracies, politics, and everyday life. Each week, we blend our opinions, analysis, with some storytelling to uncover the hidden layers of our world. From the latest political intrigue to the most fascinating conspiracy theories, we bring you a balanced dose of skepticism and insight. Whether you're a seasoned critical thinker or just curious about the whispers that swirl around us, we offer a space where your questions are welcome, and your mind can wander freely. Tune in, spark your curiosity, and let's embark on this journey of discovery together. The No Name Podcast, where every episode is a new chance to think critically and see the world through a different lens. Don't miss out. Subscribe today and join the conversation.
Hey, I'm Jeremy.
What's up, everybody? It's Dustin.
Hey, it's your boy Trey.
I'm also Dustin.
Hey, well, today I'd say we pretty much have Jeremy, Trey, and the Dustins. I mean, that's
Yeah.
Just remember, I am the Dustin.
That's for the OG. There we go. OG Dustin.
OG.
Wait, which one's older? Who is older?
But
He's
Oh,
the baby, he's the baby of the
okay.
whole group, remember?
Okay.
So we can call him OG.
Yeah,
there you go.
I'm the old one, which is still.
The wise
I
man.
feel like I've gotten to the point now where I'm like, I'm the old guy now, and I'm like, oh my god.
We're just going to call you the wise man.
Just got to own it at that point. Yeah.
I mean, I felt really happy when you turned 35, and I was like, oh man. I was like, you're almost 40 now.
Wow.
And he looked.
Oh, man.
He looked at me. He said, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe you just said that
That's
to me."
a lot more depressing that way.
Well, I just turned 36, so I'm
Well,
scratching.
you're already over.
Just
the
look at
hill.
it this way.
You're
You're the closest one of all of us to 30.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
That is true when you try to bring it down a notch. Well, I appreciate everybody listening this week. Today, if you listen to last week, where it may have been like a doom and gloom New World Order episode.
Well, I don't apologize for that because I was completely right in everything that I said.
I don't know that you were completely right, but
Hey, I was
you
going to
know.
say this. If I wasn't hitting the nail on the head, I was scraping off the top of it because I was hitting that nail. I'm definitely hitting the nail.
So this week, so we're all fathers in this room. So I just kind of wanted to get everybody together and see kind of where we're at, because you know on this podcast we talk a lot about again, people call them conspiracies, we just call them theories. So we're kind of trying to scrape by to see. So we have those theories. Now we're all still fathers. So what are we gonna do? You know, we still have families to raise. We still have families to lead. So how do we get by? How do we do that? So that's kind of where we're going to go with this. Is you know, kind of from a you know, we're all Christians too. So maybe from a Christian perspective / just a human perspective on what do we do and how do we get there.
Well, I will say just from a human perspective, I think it's much harder in this day and age to raise children in general than it was when we were growing up. I feel like you would think it would be not as hard with with everything that we have now, all the resources that we do have, but that's what makes it harder. I feel like we didn't have those kind of phones when we were growing up. I mean, the coolest phone we had was the Razor. Remember the Razor? That phone was so cool. Like that was the coolest phone, and like we thought it was just.
See, I'm so old.
Amazing.
The Razor wasn't out till I was an adult.
Oh, the Blackberries. Remember them, the Blackberries? First came
Again, not till I was an adult. Okay.
The sidekick?
I think the coolest phone that I could have had before I was an adult was literally when Nokia came out with
You
the
change
little
the faceplate.
yeah, like you could change the faceplate, and they had the color screen and the backlit keyboard that was rubber instead of the little hard buttons.
Yep.
So that was the closest thing to a phone, like a cool phone,
Yeah.
before I was an adult, and that was literally when I was like 17. Like I think I was working at Captain D's. Okay.
D.
And I used my paycheck to buy that phone. I was like, man, this is great. You know?
But you remember when the Blackberries came out?
Oh, yeah.
Blackberries were really, really cool back then. But I think the most dangerous thing that we had when we were younger was probably the internet. I mean, it was
Barely.
probably the
even
most,
then, that
Fair
wasn't
enough.
really that.
Well,
I mean, you couldn't even do anything. Like
The
I
page would
remember
take
the
70
the
years.
worst thing that we could do was LimeWire.
first song I
all those things.
downloaded
There we
on
go.
look, first
There we
song I
go.
downloaded on Napster is like Freebird or something, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I set this thing to go overnight. And I was like, man, I hope this thing's done by the time I wake up. Okay, we're talking like it was probably like a 6 or 7 megabyte file. Okay, and I'm like, man, I hope this thing's done by the time I wake up in the morning. And I mean, that's just crazy how much
Yeah.
It was
changed.
LimeWire for me.
But now
Yeah,
you
LimeWire's
have,
LimeWire's trouble.
the devil.
but now you have all this technology, and I think it's just really hard to monitor all that with the children. And you got to battle what they're being taught in school. You got to battle what they're seeing in the media all the time, and there's a lot of confusion that they have to face these days. Where we had to face confusion growing up, even on sexuality. We were growing up. Some people had those questions of am I gay or am I straight? But now you don't even have the questions of are you gay or are you straight. Now you have questions: are you a boy or are you a female? Are you are you bisexual? Are you pansexual? Are you straight? What are you?
I've always
Whatever
still tried to
happened,
figure out
like-
a pansexual. Is
like-
that somebody who likes to cook a lot?
Well, I don't know. My only thing is I don't have I don't even have a problem with this.
I'm just
really.
asking. I don't even know.
They like
Hold on.
everybody, I think.
Hold on.
I think. Don't quote me on these. I don't have. It's gotten out of hand for me.
I didn't know. I just thought, I used to cook too.
Well, my deal is I don't have a problem with any of that. Like I don't really have a problem with what you identify as far as your sexuality goes. But like whatever happened with just being gay and being straight. There's no. I mean, you're either gay or you're straight. Like
Yeah.
I was.
what happened to that?
Well, I think
Now-
the problem is when they try to push it on your kids.
Yeah.
That's really the kicker. But
Yeah.
so we kind of took a different turn here already, Dustin. Okay, doom and gloom.
Jesus.
So let me ask Trey and other Dustin. So OG Dustin has given us our concerns of raising a kid. Okay, like I was trying to find out how do we move on, But so what is your biggest concern for your kid? Right?
I think
like
it's
raising them in this environment.
it's similar to what like the agenda pushing, the agenda setting pushing. Like is I think our parents didn't have to parent as hard
Right.
because it was a tone was set. You like for instance, you're going to church. It was rules. We knew the rules. You got clean whoopings. Like it was the boundaries. We had boundaries. To Dustin's point, when you add the cell phones in, you add more agenda setting, pushing theories out there, then you kind of your rules are always tested. Like right now, my daughter's in the why phase. Is why I got to do that? Why? And it used to be, when I was growing up, because I said so. Now I'm kind of like, nope, that doesn't work. So let me explain it to her because somebody's going to give her an answer. So let me give her an answer.
Yeah.
And I think you have to, how we move forward is you have to set the tone for. When me and my wife go to marriage and counseling, the guy says you set the mission for your family and you make them that's the mission. Like, and it has to be something you broach every day. You can't come off of it. So to me, I was like, dang, that's a lot of parenting because I felt like, dang, I gotta do this every day. Some days I just don't want to talk about anybody. I don't even talk to people some days. Then I remember my mom. My mom had a standard of greatness. You don't get B's. At 89, you're on punishment. That was the standard.
Wow.
So yeah, so it pushed me.
I would be ecstatic.
Oh, I
I had a B.
and let me tell you,
I worked hard for that B.
Your
Damn it.
booty would be so raw. by the time-
What Trey's not telling you, he's never met the standard.
Oh, but trust me, I've met it. Not in college, I didn't, but at that point, she was like, "You're on your own." But like,
it's all you know.
but in high school, I think the lowest grade I got was like an 88.
Wow.
And like even they tried to get me to move to the more magnet programs. Like no, because I would have this actual study and stuff like that. He's a hater. I've never seen.
Literally never happened. Sure.
Mute him off the show. We don't even want him on the show anymore right now. But no, you just set the standard. My mom set a standard of greatness, and I think it translated to a lot of other stuff. When I feel like, okay, like my mom, like this is I'm not honoring the standard.
Yeah.
And I think that the convictions of Christ and all that good jazz. I was in church 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Or 6. When I say that, like 6, probably 6 a.m. to like 3 or 4.
Yeah.
But
Kind of like 88.
yeah, but
Really
yeah.
was 84.
it may have been like 90,000. I don't know.
Your mom was the mom version of Nick Saban.
You know what? She doesn't even know who
I
Nick Saban.
demand greatness from
Hey,
you.
you know what? She doesn't even know who Nick Saban is. But yes, no. If you can ask my friends when they came into our house, they knew. Like my friends would do chores in my house,
I ain't gonna lie, his mom's a little scary.
and she's calmed down. And I still
Yeah.
think her calmed down. It's like still like I
A
don't
little
trust
scary.
it. I don't trust it. I don't trust it. So yeah, that's what I would say. Setting that standard for you have to set the standard for your family. As a man, as men in this room, setting the standard for your family.
All right. What about you?
Yeah, no, I think that one of my biggest concerns that I see is like we're just so inundated with information. We're surrounded by information so much that I feel like I get really concerned with what my kids are going to hear and what they're going to see while at school, even with friends or whatever, because my son comes home, he's first grade and talking about all these different things that I've never even heard of. So I know that he didn't learn it from me, hear it from me, find out that he's got friends at school that really shouldn't even be into that yet either, but they have older siblings.
Like what? Can
that
you give
have
an
all these
example?
things.
Well, give me something that he came home, because I need to prepare myself. I have a 2-year-old. Your son is in the mix. I call it.
Oh yeah, no. So my son, my son's in first grade, and he's already talking about like one of his friends who's already been making out with another girl.
Oh,
He said,
wow.
wait.
Stole a ring and a bracelet from his mom and gave it to
In first
girl.
grade?
Wow.
last year. In
Wait, your
kindergarten.
son did
In
that? Or
kindergarten?
he's-
No.
okay.
His
In
friend.
kindergarten?
Yep,
5 years old.
5 years old.
Oh, wow.
So, but he has an older brother,
Yeah.
and he had learned a lot of things from that. So,
You know how old the older brother
Little boy got game.
That little boy need to.
is? You need a whooping. is what
Yeah,
he needs.
yeah, no, because his
An
older brother, his
old-fashioned.
older brother's a teenager. You know, like early teens,
wow.
early teens. Yeah,
Okay.
Jeez Louise.
But yeah, so coming home and talking about these things, and then I'm kind of caught off guard, and I'm not even prepared for this because I'm thinking we're trying to learn how 1 + 1 = 2, and then I'm having to have these conversations already about this kind of stuff and kind of what he's dealing with there. So I feel like not being able to be with them all the time, and they have all this other information, and then they're hearing all these things. It's just very, very difficult to be able to handle it all.
Yeah, that's kind of what we ended up finding out, was that having kids in school around other kids is like the most terrible thing ever. I mean, honestly.
My little boy came home last year running around yelling, "Yeet!
Yeet? What is yeet?
Yeet!"
What is
I
it?
have no idea.
Let me look this up.
I don't remember. It's just some kind of like.
That's what I saw. Oh,
Seriously, you don't know what a
Yeah, Trey, you
yeet
have
is?
to know what yeet means.
I mean,
It's just a sound, huh?
well, I mean, I've heard it, but I don't know what it means.
No,
I thought it
don't.
meant just.
That's what it means.
I don't know.
I
Means what?
can't remember. Look it up.
Means what?
Wow. Okay. We just lost every younger audience member here from people who are not even in their 40s. They're still in their 30s. I mean, come on.
You know what yeet means?
Yeet.
I'll
To throw something with force and without regard for an item being thrown.
Oh, I actually did know that, to be honest.
He grabbed my
You
phone
yeet it.
and
Yeah, you yeet it. Yeah, you
into
throw it. Yeah.
But
So-
why are they saying it if they're not
Yeet?
eating anything?
I don't know.
Now I'm going to say that. Yeet.
Or they're not using it correctly.
Yeah, they're not using it correctly.
So, I
They
mean,
just, they just say it because they think it's cool.
I literally have gone through like all the different slang words over the past, I don't know, 6 months, because
Like Stibbity?
we've literally sat at the kitchen table and I've gone through. I'm like, all right, do you guys know cap? You know,
Oh, yeah.
or like
that one's easy.
risen, or you know, like all these different, like all these, like I don't know. My youngest son, he, my daughter, we were at soccer field last week, and they were, you know, got done with soccer, and my daughter looks at him and she's like, you know, I can't remember what the girl's name is. She's like, you walked by her and she said that you rizzed her.
Whoa.
And I said, he what her? I'm like sitting here on the side. I'm like, he did what to her? You know, because I'm thinking, oh gosh, like he's, you know, doing something, you know. She's like, he rizzed him. I said, what does that mean? She's like, you know, when you give like the, you know, like that kind of look. And I'm like, whoa, that's a rizz?
A charming look.
Yeah, that exactly. Like, you know, I'm like, whoa, okay.
Yeah, it's too much.
Because I mean, I love the T-shirts that have the picture of Jesus,
Jesus.
where he's like he's risen, you know, and he's
Yeah.
like putting the basketball in the hoop. I'm like,
Right.
oh, this is wonderful. I don't get it, but
Right.
Have you heard that song yet where that guy's singing, "My God is bussin'"?
oh yeah. All the different the worship songs on.
Pretty funny, yeah.
I told Dustin we should sing some of those.
Oh yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
great. Yeah, that'd be.
It's just one a Gen Z service.
But see, I think that's the thing, though, is when we were younger, and I know that it was different. Every generation has this, but I feel like when we were younger, things didn't change as quickly as things change now.
Oh, that's
So
the-
it
that
was
is the
easier to
truth.
kind of keep up with stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, once your parent found out you were doing something, they were able to handle a little bit easier. Whereas now we have so much access in so many different ways to so many different things that things are constantly changing. It's like once you get caught up on this, something else is
Yeah.
happening. Once you get caught up on how I can catch this and how I can make sure my kid doesn't get into that, and they're protected from this, then there's a whole new way that things are happening, a whole new dynamic.
Yeah,
Well,
that,
you know-
that's what I was trying to say over here earlier when I went on my somehow, I don't know, went on a took a turn. I don't know, but
Well, I was trying to find out how do we combat this, like as men who are trying to lead our families and raise children, and I have to tell, the PD over here, when I sent him a text and said this is what we're talking about, he sends me a text back. He says, "Just have the moms raise them."
Who said that? You
He did.
You did.
He did. I was like,
but
okay,
then-
that's fair.
Yeah.
But
The
the thing is,
going to tell him everything I say is wrong.
but so I'll share a little bit about our story. We ended up starting off our school year with a bang, with and thankfully they're not in school
You
anymore.
gotta be
so
careful
I
how
don't-
you say bang, by the way.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, with
You
school.
just
Come on,
can't-
bro.
Yeah, come on.
Look, I'm one of the most. I'm one of the least PC people you'll come across. So my
I
bad.
want to make sure people don't think that you're
Well, we did. I mean, we personally didn't start off the school year like that, but
It did.
We're in the area of
right.
it. But-
Right.
So before that even happened, it was like, my daughter in middle school, they have these Chromebooks.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
they're doing 100% Chromebook now. So
Crazy.
like, which I was like, why do we even take a book bag to school? Like I was having a meltdown over that. Like, why am I even buying this book? Because I'll tell you this, it's turned into a whole nother money grab too, because they're like, oh yeah, so if you bring a book bag to school, you have to buy a locker because you're not allowed to have your book bag in the classroom.
You have to wait. Buy a locker?
I had to rent it. I have to rent the locker.
Wait. Freeze. This is too much for me right now. You have to rent a locker that the school provides.
Yes.
Yeah,
And they want me to bring a book bag?
And so you don't have to bring a book bag, I guess. But if you were to bring a book bag, you have to rent the locker. And your purse, if you're a female, is only allowed to be 5 by 5. Okay. So, part of the reason we moved out here was because we wanted a, I'm not going to say Gestapo, but we wanted something that was, where they're going to keep everybody straight.
Yeah.
Because, some of the surrounding counties, it's like a free for all, okay? They got girls in there with midriffs on, like,
Yeah.
like they weren't even allowed to wear that when I was a kid.
Right.
Like, no way. Like, they got these little short booty shorts on. Like,
Yep.
I've seen some people on Facebook, sending their kids to school, and I'm like, I wouldn't even let my kid out of the house looking like that.
Right.
Like, around the house, whatever. But, you stepping outside of the house, there ain't no way. Like, you are going to be dressed a certain way. That,
Right.
That's just how I grew up. That's my wife is on the same
Modesty.
page. Modesty, exactly. Like we're all on the same page, And but anyway, that was part of the reason we moved out here. Was for that. So I expect a little bit of that. And so I'm a tech person, obviously. So as soon as she starts bringing this Chromebook home, she goes to bed. I crack it open. I'm looking at, what she's been doing online, what she's learned. They have all their lessons out there, the whole nine. So I'm thumbing through, and
If you search for it, you will find it.
Things I'm glad
See-
my parents didn't do when I was a kid.
that's
Please.
the same thing I told my wife. I
Okay.
said, if you look for it, you deserve what you find.
Right.
And I deserved what I found. But let me tell you something. It was worth it for me. First thing I look at, I come across, she's listening to this, what they call pop music now, which I do not call pop music. I call it garbage. Okay. This Doja Cat, and all this crap. Right. So I click on some of these songs, right? And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Oh, no.
And you're actually listening to the lyrics.
lyrics, man.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're
Okay.
bad.
And then worse than that, I just Google it so I can just read it. And that's even worse. So the first time I found out, I started just reading the lyrics to her. I mean, unedited, because she was listening to unedited. And I want to mind you,
Whoa.
this is on a school computer.
That doesn't block. It doesn't block the fact that it could be cursing or not adult. I mean,
Exactly.
like children.
They just allow her to be on Spotify. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I was in shock over that, because I'm like, really,
Right.
really, okay. So I'm reading her the lyrics, which was, let me tell
Super
you,
nice and awkward.
Comfortable.
uncomfortable for
Yeah.
me. But I wasn't gonna show it. I was like all in, and I was like, I was just all in it, and I'm like, she looked like she was this big, and I'm
Right.
like, does that make you feel uncomfortable? Yes, but it's because you're my dad, and I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, it shouldn't. I mean, if you're listening to that, you're
Right.
filling your head with that. It shouldn't make
Right.
you feel, shouldn't bother you at all, right? She's like, well, it does. I'm like, well, that's actually something in you saying I probably shouldn't be doing that, right?
Right.
So I start trying to bring it around for her. So that was step one.
Mm-hmm.
Step two is, and mind you, when I go to look at that, I have to connect to a different network because the network that I have my kids connect to is safe for them.
Yeah.
Okay, so last year when we started bringing the Chromebook home, I went through the entire lesson plans, like their entire Google Classroom.
Yeah.
Remind me to talk about Google Classroom later, but so I started going through their whole thing, and I allowed only those things. So they can't get to Google, they can't get to YouTube, they can't get to nothing. Okay?
Right.
So
This is some grade A parenting, by the way.
I mean, like I'm taking notes.
Yeah.
it should be because I'm going to try to speed this story up. Okay. So anyway, so I have to connect to a different network and I'm looking at all this, right? And so as things kind of start progressing, I look at it every day, and at one point I'm seeing she's looked at like 400 YouTube videos during the day. Okay.
In one day?
In one day.
At school?
At school. Again, she can't do it at my house. I have it blocked. Okay.
Jesus
Jeez.
Christ.
I don't
she's
even
getting
look
it
at
in.
400 a year. I mean,
No, I probably get 400 in a year, a month maybe.
So she tells
But
me,
that's
well,
crazy.
it's not that bad because it's the YouTube
Shorts.
I didn't even
Yeah.
know about YouTube Shorts.
Oh,
So
yeah.
apparently it's like TikTok or
Yeah.
something, right? So I click on her YouTube Shorts and I start going through them. And this is where I've talked about the algorithm before, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh boy, we gotta start fixing this. That's when I would spend hours going through and like dislike this, I'll be pulling up like, just straight Jesus stuff. They'd be like, Jesus came down from the heavens. I'm like,
I got you,
just
algorithm.
like this, oh, these puppies are the best. They're, kittens. I'm like, I'm like, we got to keep them innocent, and so anyway, I'm going through all this, and finally, I reach out to their IT person at the school, and I said, okay, here's what I'm up against. I want you to block Spotify. I want you to block this, that, and I'm like, all of that needs to be blocked, like immediately.
Yeah.
He comes back. He's like, well, it's not that easy. And so I'm like, okay, to me, I'm like, I do this for a living. Like you
Yeah.
tell me, done,
Right.
Right.
And so I come back to it the next day. I said, how are we doing on that? Well, it's just, it's not as easy as you think it is. So I'm like, all right. So I call the principal and I'm like, hey.
Now, you legitimately calling the principal. You're not calling in, like the administrative. I don't know how
I
they got it.
bypassed them all.
Okay. Gotcha.
I went straight for
All
the
right.
top.
All right. All right.
All right. Because I
Let me
thought
take
about
charge.
that. I thought maybe I should start
The chain of
with this.
command.
Yeah, maybe I should start. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to the top. So I call him. He doesn't call me back. So I'm like, okay, I wait a day. And mind you, I'm checking this thing every day, and it's getting a little bit better, but it's still not
Where you wanted to be.
where I want it to be. So I take her to school, and I just go in there, and I'm like, because she missed the bus. And I go in there, and I'm, talk to the front lady. I said, yeah, I need to see the principal. And she's like, well, he's busy. I said, well, that's good. I was like, I'm already late for work, so I'll just have a seat. I said, you just let me know. You just let me know when he's available. And so I sit down, and she's like, well, we have testing today. So, he's going to have to administer the test. And I was like, really? I said, well, that's fine. I said, I got my laptop in the car. I can just work from here. I said, again, I'm late. So I no big. She's like, well, let me see if I can get him.
Wow.
As soon as the bell rings and he does announcements, boom, calls me back there. I spent an hour and 15 minutes with this guy, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, super cool dude. And where we're from, he's from here. And I'm like, all right, cool. We live in a small town. I'm like, he's got morals. He's going to, and I
Yeah.
mean, he was just agreeing with me the whole way through, like everything. He's like, I can't believe that. And I straight up asked him, this is what I was going to tell you earlier. I straight up asked him, I said, how many other parents have come to you with this concern? He said, none.
Yeah.
And I said,
They're not
wow.
monitoring.
He said, I don't think anybody's actually looking at this. And so I'm like, I can't believe I'm the only one. Like, you're talking a school of like 1,400 kids, and I'm the only one who one either has the cojones to talk to you about it, or two, the only one that's looking at all.
Well, I think that's the problem is so many people trust the school or they trust the people around them to raise their kids for them instead of being so involved with.
Well, see, that's kind of where we were at too. Was like comes a time where you're like, okay, I feel pretty good about sending my kids to school because they have all these things in place, and they're all about protecting the kids. They're not. Wake up. Like literally, if you have that feeling that your kids are safe at school, wake up, because it's not true. I mean, literally, like if you're not in, like I didn't realize how uninvolved I was until I got involved. Like I thought things were pretty good what we were doing, like where we were at. I got hit in the face with a bus. I mean, y'all saw me for probably about a month where I just looked probably dead to the world because I mean, I literally was not
your parenting.
I was not sleeping at night. I just did not feel good as a human being because I feel like I failed.
Mm-hmm.
Like for that, because she's at such a ripe age that I felt like she was exposed to so much because of one, my lack of not being involved. And I was really pissed at the school for allowing it. And, he told me that he was going to square it away, right? And I'm like, cool. That night, I'm looking at her Chromebook again. Well, I see she's gotten onto a VPN website.
Oh, she's been talking to some other kids.
You know what a VPN website is?
Bypass site.
Okay, so it literally bypasses everything.
Yep. Yeah.
You go into this little tunnel, and boom, you're open to everything. I went and woke her up.
Oh no!
She had been in bed for 2 hours, and I was shaking.
Oh.
Okay, I was shaking. I had the Chromebook in because I was just so, because once you're in that VPN site, it's untrackable.
Right.
It's not, but I couldn't see
what she was on.
She was on. I have zero idea.
You was like Moses with the tablets.
Yep. So I walked up there, man. I was shaking. I'm like, get up. She's, I'm get up.
And was the history? And does the VPN clear out the history too?
No, you can't. Yeah, you can't see
anything.
You can't
right?
see anything
Wow.
once it's inside that VPN. It's
Wow.
done.
So she bypassed you.
She did.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
I told her, I said, get up. And she wakes up. She's like, what's wrong? I'm sitting there holding. I'm like,
You know
do
what
you know what's wrong? I'm like, why am I finding this? And she's like, because I mean, she already knows. Like, literally, we've been talking about it every day.
Right. Yeah.
She already knows I'm looking through this thing every day. And so I'm like, where did it come from? Where did what come from? I said, where did it come from? I said, because I know you didn't come up with this on your own. And then she tells me,
Here we go.
the kid on the bus, high schooler.
Yep.
High schooler.
Wait.
Yeah,
What?
No, high schooler. And I said, why are you sitting next to a high schooler?
Why are they on the same bus?
So out here, they have a policy that high schoolers are supposed to be in the back of the bus and the middle schoolers are supposed to be on the front of the bus. So that's why I said, why are you sitting next to a high schooler? I don't know, just am. And I said, what?
I don't like that.
Okay. So again, the next day, I'm like, you are not getting on the bus. And I talked to my wife and I said, I'm done with the bus. And so when she woke up the next morning, I was like, we're done with the bus. You're not doing the bus anymore. And she liked the bus for her, for her independent time or whatever, because we'd let her take her phone with her or whatever. And, of course she has everything locked down through me on her phone. So, I feel safe about that. But so anyway, and she doesn't even have Safari on her phone. So it's not like she could VPN behind my back,
Right.
Yeah.
I do not believe in wide open internet
No.
for any kid. I mean,
No.
maybe
No.
when they're 16, 17, I don't
18,
even know.
19.
Maybe, I mean,
Yeah.
Leave out my house.
we'll have to see how it goes.
Right.
But,
based on your responsibility.
exactly. And that's what I tell them. But so I tell her that morning, I'm like, you're done with the bus. You are now a car rider. I was like, I'm going to take you to school today. I mean, she has a epic meltdown. I mean, it was just like epic. And I'm looking at my wife and I'm like,
For her betterment, we're okay with it.
I don't know about this. I'm like, I don't know about this. So I'm just like, look, I was like, you know what? Ride the bus home today. Let's see how, I said, and then we'll talk about this later. I was like, I do not have, again, I've been beat up for
you're
like a month
exhausted.
at this point. I mean, I'm just like done. I'm like, I have nothing left to give. And so she's like, whatever. I'm like, okay. I tell my wife, I was like, we need to square this away immediately. So I call the principal and I tell him, I said, hey, again, he doesn't answer. So I robo-called, man. I was like, I robo-called, finally got a hold of him. And I'm like, look, I said, you guys aren't following a policy. I said, I found out that my daughter, one, still has access to everything I've requested y'all to to get rid of and a VPN site. And he's like, what's a VPN site? And I go, they're the whole thing. Okay. And I'm like, and I'm like, you guys are allowing her to sit next to a high schooler. He's like, well, I'll fix that right now. And I said, well, hang on before you do that. I said, I don't want her to be the only one to get moved. I just want you guys to follow your policy.
Right.
I don't want her being called out in front of all these people.
Right.
Follow your policy. Yeah, definitely. We're going to do that. My
Not
wife
gonna
gets a
happen.
call from the transportation department. They said, we need to know why you want her seat moved. I'm like, what? So, again, she calls me from the bus. And she's like, they moved just my seat. And I'm like, oh, no. I'm like, they did what?
It wasn't me.
I'm like,
Oh, no.
I said, I literally told them not to do that. I said, I asked for them to follow their policy. And I mean, she was broken
Oh,
because
no.
they had moved her next to this other girl who thinks she's a man or something and is like a vampire as well and bit her last year.
Oh.
And I said, well, did you tell the driver? And she's talking about this girl right in front of her. And I'm like, yeah, I was like, you probably should
Next to her on the
bite
bus.
you.
next to
again.
her on the and I'm like, you should probably not do that. She's like, I don't even care. I'm like, you probably should stop crying too. You're
No.
gonna look weak, I'm like, stop.
You're in
know?
the middle of jail right now. You need to toughen up, buddy.
That's literally what I'm like, whoa, and so anyway, I'm like, did you tell the driver that you had that this girl bit you last year? She's like, yeah, she didn't care. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So
Yeah, they don't pay them enough to care.
long story that I'm going to cut off now is that I ended up talking to the principal again the next day, and I'm like, he's like, oh, we got that bus thing squared away. I said, no, you didn't. I said, you did, or somebody did exactly what I asked them not to do. And he starts telling me, like, I offered to do their networking for them for free. I said, you make me a school account, I will find all of your holes. I said, this is what I do for a living. I said, I will find all your holes. I said, people charge thousands and thousands of dollars to do what I'm offering to do for free. I laid out this whole plan for him. He tells me the district said you can't do this. They won't allow you to do that. The whole way down. Node everything. Node blocking Spotify, even though they know they can't stop explicit music. And he tells me, this was the biggest kicker, is that the reason that they allow Google 100% like they do is because when we went to school, it was about memorization. And now they're trying to teach the kids how to find answers safely and effectively. So I said, you're just teaching them to Google answers. And he says he wouldn't answer it. He just kind of, he's like, well, and then just kind of stopped. And I'm like, okay. I said, why are we doing this long? 6th, 7th grade? You graduated.
Yeah.
We've taught you how to Google at this point.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
everything else is inconsequential.
Hell, at
Yeah.
that
Why are we
point,
dragging this out? Just so y'all can have a paycheck?
Right.
If
Right.
that's the case at this point, you should just let them ask AI for every answer.
I mean,
Getting
literally.
there.
So that was kind of my experience. And then, after the Appalachia thing, we didn't even send our kids back because this happened like right before that. And, we had made a decision like, okay, we're done.
Yeah.
We just need to plan it. And then when Appalachia happened, which was down from our house, we're like, all right, we're done.
Yeah.
I'm like, because we were being lied to about that stuff too, about, the
But-
safety of our district. So
But you did something. I think my 12 years experience in youth ministry is, I think as parents you have to realize our job is not to make them happy.
right.
And I think a lot of parents want to be friends and want to, I want my child to have this, these core memories where they were just laughing and enjoying. One of my best core memories is me getting my ass whooped. I have recorded.
How is that your best memory?
Because I'm gonna tell you how. Because it was some stuff, and it's some stuff in college that was presented for both of us to do, and we both looked at each other and was like, no, not doing that. Because I can feel the belt on my booty still. You know what I mean? Like it's
Okay,
recorded.
well, maybe that is a good one. then.
And because it was, I have put myself in some dumb situations that I knew I shouldn't have been in, and hear the voice of God saying, "Why are you here?"
yeah,
And I'm like, God, I don't even know how to get out. And then hearing my mom's voice saying, "Every choice you make has consequences
right.
and reactions." And I was like, I got to get out of this because if the chart or path we are on, the consequences is only these two things: death or jail. And I can't go to. I know I can't. So I will literally find ways out of situations because I understood the lessons and stuff that my mom intentionally showed me. So like when I hear parents give in like you kind of pulled them out, but I admire you for that because I think I'm on that path of they might not. My daughter may never see what a real school looks like, and it's like, and the only reason being because it's just like dogs. Dogs learn bad behavior from other dogs. I tell people all this. I said, dogs and children have similar paths to learning, because my dogs didn't do half the stuff until they got with my wife's dog, and he did all this other stuff. So then I'm rushing to discipline him because they never did this stuff,
Right.
and now they're doing it because they learned it from him.
Yep.
Children are the same thing. You just said about the VPN, right? I would have parents literally, come to me and say, I can't stop my kid from sending nudie pictures to their boyfriend, girlfriend. I said, yes, you can. How? Take the phone.
Yep.
But I need to talk to them about freaking what? I need to know where they are. Why? You know,
Get him a flip phone.
watch this. We didn't have phones growing up. I didn't get a phone until I was 7th grade, right? Or 7th, 8th grade. You know what I was supposed to be? My mom said, meet me out front in the school. You know where I
At
was?
this time, yep. Are you there?
I was not even. I was there early because I knew what it came with. you see what I'm saying? If my mom said be ready at this time, she didn't have to call me and tell me to be ready. She said she told me she would call the house phone, and we knew that when the first time we wouldn't touch it because we weren't allowed to touch it. And the second time we heard it ring, we saw the number or the whatever, we'll pick it up, say yes ma'am. She said be ready at this time and don't be late. That was it.
Yeah.
Parents have gotten lazy. To do all that work you just did requires late nights, frustration, feeling like you let your kid down a little bit because you're not protecting necessary. You're protecting them physically, but you're not protecting them between the mind and the ears.
Well, that's what I try to say. That's one of the most important things. Like, yes, you need to physically protect your kids, but protecting their brains and the things they see and hear. Oh man, people do not put enough stock in that, anymore. And I don't know why. Like the way we grew up, I think we're the ones mostly raising kids right now, right?
Yeah.
I mean, how does our generation not
goes back to
see
what Dustin said.
how
OG
important that is?
It's like it just goes back to what OG Dustin said, which is think about it. Like right now,
I thought what I said was wrong.
I
didn't say
it
what
was
you said was wrong.
It was
I got
doom and
you.
gloomish.
I got you. Yeah, but that was the point I was trying to make. Is it's harder now to raise children in this.
What do you stop?
times.
Do you stop
Yeah.
the transgender agenda? Do you stop the gay agenda? Do you stop the gun shooting at school agenda? Do you stop the vampire? You can be a vampire agenda. Do you-
Here's what I would have told Gabby because I was kind of weird in high school. I was kind of emo-ish.
Hey, I was
Back in my day, I was
What? Oh yeah,
He was
I
not
was
no emo.
I was emo, bro.
Yeah,
Yes,
he
I
looked like
was.
I
he
used to listen to
he looked
all
like
the-
he
Painted
was
fingernails?
No, he like he belonged in NSYNC.
I'd
No.
colored my hair blue. And
Yeah.
See?
Oh, I didn't do that part.
So you wasn't doing all that.
Anyway, she should have told her, well, if you were a vampire, you'd burst into flames because they can't be out in the sun and the sun's shining through these windows. Last I saw, these windows weren't that tinted. So, but
Oh,
I
man.
mean, what I was getting at with the transgender stuff, anyway, like I don't even that doesn't bother me. Like if my kid were to come out today, I mean,
Yeah, it's a
What?
kid though.
yeah, but well, okay. So if my kid were 13 and he told me he was gay, it wouldn't bother me. Like I wouldn't really.
I don't think you
care.
could still take that for what it's worth at 13.
Well, you
No.
I
can't,
think when
but
your kid's
You just
20,
learning what your
saying
penis
is
is.
20
I don't
something,
care.
Right.
maybe.
If he's gay, if he's not gay, I don't
Yeah.
care. But for you to tell me you're something completely different,
My
like that,
problem is
where
when
did
the
that come
when the school is telling the kid, "Hey, you're gay,"
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
other people, because it's become such a fad
Yeah.
that it's not,
I think
not
what I'm trying
sincere.
to
I
get
mean-
at is how it's just getting kind of
Push.
pushed mainstream,
Yeah.
like where it's. I don't want to say because it should. Be, I mean, me, I just got. I mean, I don't know if I'm different than you guys.
No,
where
no,
I'm
I agree with you.
Acceptable, yes, to a degree, yes.
No, I
Not
agree.
when my 8-year-old is telling me that.
See, and that's what I would push back on it a little bit. Is when my kid gets of age where I know they understand certain things, I will accept certain things. Some of them. So if my daughter comes to me at 19 and says, "Hey, Dad, I think I like women," then we're gonna have a mature conversation about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm more this because she's at the age where she can make that choice. If my
Yeah.
daughter comes to me and say, "Hey, Dad, I love you my whole life, and I think it's cooler to be a guy, and I want to be a guy," we're gonna have that conversation. I'm not gonna try to change her mind. I think I did a great job parenting. I hope, and we're gonna figure it out. But at 8, no, we're gonna.
what I'm saying.
Yeah, 10, 11, 13, 14, 15, no. You like my thing. Let's really think about it, right? On average, a kid is hitting puberty somewhere between, thanks to the food, between 11 or 10 and 14. Some people get some late bloomers in there, right? You're just discovering things
Yeah.
as with you as a person, right? Your hormones, think about this, are all over the place, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So I mean, and if we're being honest, the guys, we're just going crazy with our body, right? And then so how can you identify with something that you don't even understand yourself?
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? How can
Well, you see now some of the transgender kids where they came out and they actually fully transitioned. Their parents allowed them to fully transition at what, 15, 16 years old, and now they're coming out going, man, I wish I'd never did that because I know now.
Yeah.
I can't go back.
And is it so? I don't know how permanent it is. Is it permanent? Like okay. Would you? I know a sex change thing may be permanent, but like, what are you doing to a kid? Like, what are they allowing kids to do that's that permanent? I don't even like tattoos for kids,
Well, I mean, from what I understand, you got to go through hormonal changes.
and you can't reverse that.
I don't
No,
think so.
because
no.
it's ruining when you're taking the hormone stuff, especially during puberty. There's been so many studies
Yeah.
of girls that have taken the testosterone stuff, and it's completely ruined their reproductive. So it's done.
Well, that's why they call it you're transitioning. I mean,
But I thought-
That's why they're calling it transitioning drugs because
a fully transition.
But I think like, you transition there, you can transition back,
Yeah, to me, it's just
learn something new.
I think the disconnect is in what they don't allow children to do until they get 18 versus letting them do that kind of stuff before they get 18.
yeah, like why are you not allowed to get a tattoo?
Right.
But you can literally ruin your entire
Yeah, that's
Genetics.
where,
reproductive.
That's a massive disconnect there.
Yeah, I mean, literally, it doesn't even make sense. Why can you not smoke a cigarette till
Cigarette.
you're 21?
Right.
Can't get a lottery
So
ticket.
you can,
Yeah, you can't get a lottery ticket.
You can get 18. You can smoke a cigarette, but you can't drink until you're 21.
No, you cannot. Trump changed that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, you have to be 21
to smoke.
to smoke.
I did not know that.
I did not
Yeah.
know that either.
Yeah, I remember I started
tell y'all.
smoking.
Why did he? Why did he pass that for?
I remember when I went and bought my first.
He's
pack
all
of
about
cigarettes.
saving people, Trey. You didn't know?
I remember when I walked.
If anything, bring everything down.
Cigarettes when I was 18. I was so happy. I was like, "This is awesome."
Everything should be at 18. Once you get
came home.
18, you should
See,
buy
you got cigarettes.
alcohol.
I bought a lottery ticket. We just
I was saying. OG Dustin over here.
See, I disagree. I think it's actually great because
for 21, right?
for 21,
But you gotta
I'd
remember, I was
say make
real
everything
emo. You were
21.
fake emo.
I say make everything 21.
I'm fair with
Honestly,
that.
I
I'm
mean,
fair with that.
Because
War,
I also think
military and
let me blow your mind. Let me blow your mind. I don't even think I think if they're gonna I hate to say this on the heels of my last story about we should just end school at 6th or 7th grade, but I think because everything is so college dependent now. Well, I mean, we're kind of going away from it a little bit now, but up until now, everything was so you have to go to college
Yeah,
if you want
absolutely.
to do anything in life. Well, why wouldn't they just make the next 4 years of college after high school and just publicize it so that you're not having to pay $40,000-$60,000 a semester, a year? Let's and then let's make you're not an adult till you're 21. Why can't
That's
we just
very-
make that true?
That's very socialistic of you.
yeah. That
Hey, I'm just saying.
borderline.
I do.
Well, I'm just
I
saying,
do,
like,
I do
you know-
like the idea though.
I mean, socialistic is being required to go to school until you're 16. If you are allowed
Yes.
to transition your gender at 8 years old without your parents knowing about it, and some people are okay with that,
Why not?
and push for it in politics, they're okay with the parents going to jail if you don't support your kid. Then why would that be socialistic to go 4 years
Nah, I'm
college
for it.
after? No, but I'm just saying, like, it's socialistic to do that other stuff. too.
Absolutely. And I would think I'm for that because like I believe this. I would present a thing called the gap year, which you're 18 years old. One of the hardest decisions you have to do is choose what college you have to go to. You have to take the SAT, right? I don't necessarily know what I want to do. I don't know if I want to go to UGA. I don't know if I go to Alabama. I don't know if I want to go to any school. I don't know. This is what
You don't want to go to UGA.
Okay. Don't,
or Alabama.
Yes, you do. Not Alabama.
No, you'd rather go to Georgia Tech.
Jeez Louise.
If you want to go to a good academic school,
Louise.
just go to Georgia Tech.
Look at all the SEC hate come out. And then nevertheless,
sucks terrible.
It's but like about it. If what if we did this instead? We sent our kids, through a program, funded to another country that's safe, to learn from that other country for 2 years. Watch this. What did they develop?
What?
No. Wait, hear me out. Because they're 18, 19. Hear me out. They get to go to another country to learn something, and not on some like what you call it, study abroad. And it's for
Like this mandatory?
No, it's not mandatory. I'm saying it would be nice to have a program if for kids
An
who are
option.
undecided, an option.
Yeah.
Well, that kid gets to go to, like, for instance, think about this. I go to Italy and I'm traveling Italy with you can be reasonable people, 18, 19, do this program, study abroad called the GAP program. and they're learning about this other country. I made this at 18, 19, 20, 21. That's the most you're trying to figure yourself out. If I was able to go to Italy and figure myself out, I might say, you know what? I do like this country. I'm learning Italian. Brain's still young enough to learn it. Then I come back to the States and I know exactly what I do. Those life traveling experiences changes people's mind about things.
So what's going to actually happen when they go over to the other country?
They're gonna party.
They're going to party.
No doubt about it.
They're not coming. They're not coming back
have
with this
fun.
epiphany at 18 years old.
No, I think that the experience will shape them. So think about this. I give you a prime example.
Mexico learn Spanish.
you-
Tequila.
Oh my Jesus. Okay, I'm gonna send you out an article later. It is an article that talks about kids who are exposed to more out of country travel between the ages of like 4 and like 15, or 4 and like 10. They have better educational experiences in the classroom than kids who are not versed travel. Like, and they're saying like kids who even go to like Disneyland and Six Flags stuff. Like those kids, these kids who go to different countries, their learning ability is higher adapted because they've been to other places and countries. They're like, oh, they live like this. So their brain is more keen to accepting knowledge and new things because they have so many new experiences. And then they did a study on 15-year-olds, same thing. They were outperforming the people in their classroom who had these experiences. And they're just talking about travel, just going to other places and experiencing things. So my thing is, if that's what the studies are saying, now I'm saying reasonably. Now you said we know they're gonna party, but you can't stop that. They're gonna party whether they stay in the States or not. What I'm saying is the hope is in the program, and it's not set in stone. I don't have no rules for it. Is they gain these experiences, then when they come back to the States, they're a little bit more self-aware. That would be the goal. Not
But a year.
no. I was saying we could figure.
I wouldn't do it a year.
It's
I
in the
wouldn't do it
works.
for a year. But I actually think that what you're saying, the idea is actually a really great idea. What I would do if they were going to do that, it would have to be a certain student.
Yeah. That's
So
fair.
like
I
it
can live with
wouldn't
that.
be
Anybody.
Joe Schmo.
Got all
What's the
else.
name you always use?
Joe Schmuckatelli.
Joe. It wouldn't be Joe. It wouldn't be Joe Schmuckatelli who's making C's. It'd have to be one of those students that's in line to be a valedictorian.
I'm fair.
One of those really
But see, those kids
A students.
I would say not those kids because those kids are going to.
They already know.
They-
what they're
doesn't
doing.
matter.
They already know.
Those
I'm
are the
talking
ones
about. I'm talking about the kid, the in betweeners, like kids who
No.
didn't get
The middle
C's.
middle
Pe-
class,
people like
literally.
in the 88s,
Yeah.
87s,
No,
yeah.
no,
Those
because
middle
those are the
class.
kids that's going to party.
No, not the C.
No.
No. I'm talking about the A and B students.
Yeah, those kids are going to party.
No.
Yes, they are.
Hey, sidebar. Where did you go all place in high school? Well, like, do you know what number out of how many you
Oh,
were?
man, I can't.
I was
remember.
pretty high. I was A's.
Okay, but like, if there's 100 people in your school, what number
top
were
10.
you?
I know I made top. I missed. I was in the top 11%. I missed the top 10% by like.
I was
Point.
like number 4 in my class.
Nice.
He said he was emo.
Senior year,
Like, when you graduate,
They give you a number.
They give you a number. Like,
I graduated from the alternative school.
Dustin would have been in the program.
So I was actually in the top of my class then.
I
At
always
the alternative
Wait.
school.
in alternative school, you was top in the class. So what happened to now? I gotta know what happened to regular school.
In regular school, I would have been really good in my senior year, but my freshman year, I was going to drop out. So my freshman year, I passed no classes. So by the time I started doing my sophomore year, what would have been my sophomore year, which I was a freshman again, but that's when I started making like all B's. So I was like a B student, but I would have been somewhat in the middle there.
So were you like a problem child growing up?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was
Yes.
like,
I was emo. Of course I was.
and you know what? Point take.
I got a lot of
point
issues,
given.
my friend.
See, I was number 34
34.
in my class. I
don't
just
think-
don't tell people there was only 82 people.
Oh, I was like, hey, that's pretty high.
You know how many kids
had like 3,000
graduated
people.
from my alternative school?
How many?
Probably 20.
Wait, they graduated?
Mhm.
How many people was in the class with you? Do you know that?
Probably 30.
Okay,
Oh wow!
that's not bad.
Yeah.
But so what's your take on this PD?
Yeah, so my thing is, and yours was a prime example, your story. I think parental involvement and avoiding lazy parenting. And I think that we have so much going on. There's so many, like, one, I'm not going to get into it because that's a whole different thing, but, trying to make enough money to buy groceries.
Yeah.
We're so busy with all these different things, all these different side hustles, all this stuff. It's like we have kids and then we are good with them for a year or two. Then we get them into daycare and then we don't have to worry about it anymore. They're in daycare. Then they're going to go to school. School's going to raise them. And then we're here, hero parent. We're going to get to come in at the end. We get to take our pictures with them at graduation, all these things. When we do that kind of stuff, we're missing out on all the things where we're just trusting and hoping that somebody else is going to instill into our children the values and the beliefs that we think that they need to have. And whenever we do that, it's this dangerous slippery slope to where we don't realize what's happening. One thing we got to realize too is, and my kids are still young, but kids, like even one's in first grade, one's in kindergarten, and then one is 2 years old. All three of them are sneaky. They know how to hide things.
Yeah.
They know what they're supposed to do. They know what they're not supposed to do.
My 3-year-old's bad. at that.
They know.
He is really
They
bad.
know.
He comes in there and he sneaks grapes or something out of the refrigerator, and they'll be like, "What do you have?" Nothing.
They literally know, and they know how to hide things from you. So we don't even, if we're not in kind of hands-on all the time. I'm not talking about once we just start to decide, okay, today I want to check. If we're not consistently, like I feel like a lot of times we're kind of alarmist, and if we see one thing, then we jump on it. But if we're consistently there and consistently kind of monitoring what's happening with our children, then we're able to, I'm not saying avoid everything, but we're able to not be taken by such surprise and not allow our children to get too deep into things to where it's more difficult to pull them back out of it. But if we aren't consistent with it, like I'm on a daily basis being involved in their lives. That's one thing. I mean, I was the only child, so it was easy for my parents to do this, but they were very involved in my life. Now, I did not tell them everything. Like my mom jokes with me all the time because she'll hear me tell stories now. And she's like, I had no idea that happened. I'm like, yeah, well, there's a reason you didn't know. But I did know that my parents were so involved in my life that even though they may not have caught me that time, I didn't keep doing it because I knew they were eventually going to catch me. Like they were hands-on. We were a tight-knit family. We were close. And then there were things that I wouldn't do, not because I felt like it was bad, but I just didn't want to hurt them if I got caught. Yeah. So I feel like being involved consistently and not just trusting somebody else to instill what you're wanting to see.
So do you think you have to be a helicopter parent like this day and age?
Yes.
I don't think so.
I think that helicopter parent is thrown around to try to.
I'm not using it in a negative
No,
context.
I know you're not,
Yeah.
but I do think, but people do.
Yeah.
You're not. Because honestly,
I feel like a helicopter parent.
You are.
Point.
You have to.
You are. And that's my point.
Not a
But
bad thing.
I think it's thrown around as this term in a derogatory way to try to discourage parents from being involved in their children's lives, which then allows all of the holes to be opened up for people to come in and do what they want to do. I think being a helicopter parent, I would take it as a compliment. It means I care. It means I'm involved. It means I'm present. It means I'm there. And it means that I love my child enough to be involved. Now, I'm not going to go, sit in the theater on their first date. I would love to. I may send you to do it, but I'm not personally going to. But I do think that when they're in these formative years, you only have your kids in your house for so long.
Yep.
Unless, something happens. Unless you're Trey. But most people only have, you only guaranteed to have your kids in your house for this short amount of time in the grand scheme of their massive life that you hope that they have. And if we're not so present and involved in that little amount of time, then not only what's going to happen while they're there, but what's going to happen once they get out of the house and you aren't able to be with them all the time.
What were you going to say? I know you had something, Sue.
I don't think you have to be.
Yeah, you said you don't have to be a helicopter parent.
I don't personally think you have to be a helicopter parent, but I do think you need to instill those morals and teach your child.
I mean, do you think I'm helicopterish for going through my kids?
I wouldn't call you
I
wouldn't call you a helicopter parent. I would call what you're doing just like what he said. You care about what your children are seeing. You want to make sure they're morally doing and seeing the right thing. You want to make sure they're not looking at anything bad. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
What I look at as somebody who's helicoptering is hovering over their children all the time.
Well, that was going to be my next point is so
and not giving them any freedom. You still give your kids freedom.
Yeah. Well, I try to give them freedom to make the right choice.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think sometimes helicopter parenting, and this isn't a negative, is when you try to make your kid into what you want them to be as far as a person.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're grooming their children.
Yeah. How you want them to be. And that's like one thing I'm big on is in my line of work and what I do, most people that are in my line of work, they want their kids to do exactly what they're doing, to follow that. And I'm not that way. I'm like, I want them to find their own path. If they never touch the same area of work I'm in, I'm totally cool with that.
Right.
And that's how I am. That's exactly what I meant by you don't have to be a helicopter parent. And in my eyes of what a helicopter parent is.
Yeah.
Because I want to teach my children what's morally right and what's morally wrong. Now, I want them to have the freedom of they get to make their decisions when they get older of what they believe and what they want to do.
And I do think too,
What
it's
you are as a
important.
person, who you are as a person.
Yeah, it is important that, like, and this is how I try to, this is why I tell I have 3 boys, right? And I tell all 3 of them the same thing. Well, 2-year-old, he doesn't really understand, but the other 2, I tell them, I'm like, you will never get in trouble for telling me the truth.
Right.
Right.
I want to be a place that they can come to. When something happens, when they mess up, I don't want them to be afraid and then run to somebody else or to something else. I want them to run to me for me to be able to help them while I can, because it goes back to they're only in the house for so
I used
long.
to say that. I used to say that. And I'll promise you, when they get a little bit older and they can actually start doing
You don't
some
want them
stuff,
to tell you.
No, you still want them to tell you, but you're like, you're going to get in a little bit of trouble for telling me the truth. Like, you're going to get in a lot more trouble for telling me a lie.
Yeah.
But there are some times that you're like, you got to get in a little bit of trouble for what you did, even if you're telling the truth. Like,
Well, but to help them,
I mean,
So,
you know, in the
it's something
discipline.
really bad, but-
parenting hack, if you have multiple kids, offer rewards for good tattletaling. You know, like
There you
if you're going to tattletale, it better be something
Good,
good.
right.
And if
I need to
it's-
start doing that because Lathan tattles.
I'll say this too. Just throw this in here is because this youth ministry jaded me a little bit. I probably need to write a book on this called Grace in Space, which is, I think, to Dustin's point, to everybody's
Trademark.
point, is trademark it already. Don't there we go. Yeah.
I'll bleep it out if you need me to.
But it's this idea that I came up with just saying it. Why is it that kids are comfortable telling me, their youth pastor, I just had sex with this girl, I think she's pregnant, or hey, call me at 2:00 in the morning, I think there's a demon in my room. Why do they feel comfortable calling me and talking to me about these things, but their parent who's down the hall, who has literally care for them, I know your parent loves you, are terrified, right? Because 2 things I think is happening. We are so involved 1 through like 5, and then we get them in school and then we go co-parent, right? And then when that co-parent leads to when they get about Gabby's age, they really are like, oh, you really don't want me around, so you know what? I feel rejected by you, and because I have my own insecurities with rejection, I'm going to let you just go to the world, right? Or life is happening, I'm hustling and bustling. I just don't have time to give that investment into you, and you're kind of self-efficient, right? You can go make your own stand. You don't really need me around. So then what parents do, they let them coast. I call it coast-parenting.
Oh,
Now,
yeah.
what happens is all those morals that you put in, they get tested by friends. So then now they're starting to get chipped away because their personality is about to change because they're getting influence at a high level consistently again, like they were when they was kids. So now they're starting to make choices that doesn't align with what you taught them because they no longer have you as the guide because something else is
Because you're
guiding.
coasting.
Because you're coasting.
Right.
And watch this, they recognize it. So I'll give you 2 things. I'm saying this kind of quickly is my stepdaughter, what I would do is come just lay in her room. She'll be in there listening to music. All right, I'm just gonna lay here for a second. Oh, I don't want you in my room. I know, but I'm just gonna sit here. Within 30 minutes, we're talking about stuff in her life. Or it'll be, hey, let me just talk like some of the kids. Hey, I'm about to ride up to here to get some stuff for the church event. Let's just talk real quick, and we'll talk to Walmart. And they'll tell me about their day. And they're so excited. And then the parents come to me and say, "Why does my kid love you so much?" I just listen to him.
Yeah.
So you see what I'm saying? And then once you if you're being a helicopter parent, I think in this society, be a helicopter parent. Let them be sick of you. And I'm not saying don't let them make their own choices, because that's what Grace in Space comes in. Let them make choices, and when they fail, you say, "Hey, what's our standard here? Why did you make that choice?" My mom did something I think incredible to me and my sister that to this day I think it ran rampant in us. We would get in trouble, yes. We would get whoopings, yes, but not all the time. Sometimes she would come to us and say, "Why did you make that decision?" Now, this is where you will get in trouble. If you said, "I don't know,"
I don't know.
your butt would be stung. But if I got to a point where I'm just gonna tell her the truth. F it. Like we're gonna see what happened. And I would say I lied about my curfew because I was with some girls and I thought that we can, I can fill on a boob or something, and it didn't work out the way I thought it would. We ended up in the ditch. And while at this point I'm trying to figure out why lie about it if she's telling me to tell the truth. Okay, then let me see. I already get whoopings. Whoopings are part of my life now at this point, right? Punishment is part of my life. I'm not avoiding the crime. I did the time. Like I always tell people, I knew the consequences of my action. My mom instilled that into me. This is why I did it though, because that girl was looking real pretty, and I was like, man, this might be my opportunity. And so I'm gonna be honest, my dad's hearing it. He's like, he's enjoying the story. He's like, oh, my son.
Get him, son.
Yeah. My
There's
mom was
times
like,
where I have to walk away. 'cause
it is
I'm
that
about
double
bursting
standard.
to laughing.
and then
It is
so,
that double
but
standard.
but of course, he's with anything my mom said, he's gonna back it up with his iron.
Now,
fist
if your
at his-
sister had said that, he would have been like, "I'm gonna kill him," right?
Exactly.
But well,
Double
see,
standard.
My so I kind of set the roadmap for my sister a little bit, but my mom, so I would get the punishment. I would get it. Like I would never forget for that incident I'm lightly talking about. I got 4 months of punishment. I couldn't leave my room. I would have to come home from school. Couldn't do no actual. And I watch this. And every day I was in there, I was like, well, that night was worth it. And when I say worth it, I don't think the punishment fit the opportunity, but the rule was, watch this, come be home by 12.
Yeah,
They were out. I knew they were out, so I was like, I can beat them home.
yeah.
I was late by 4 hours. For every hour that I was late, I had a month of punishment. My mom doesn't remember that. I said, Mom, I remember it because I was like, are y'all serious? And watch this. By the 4th month, in my head, I said, you know what? It didn't matter anymore. That taught me that you can make rash decisions for an opportunity for a moment of fleeting fun, but it can cost you way longer than that hour, those 4 hours. It was not worth my 4 months.
Yeah.
Those lessons, because my mom was so heavily involved, she wasn't a helicopter parent. She let us make mistakes. It's some stuff to this day I would never tell her until she on her deathbed. I would whisper in her ear, like, bye.
Why didn't you tell her then?
Mother's Day, but
Because she was like, what? And they just send her over, like, bye, Mom.
Just looking for a way out.
Right.
Oh,
But I'm
man.
just saying that to say that you have to be, at some point, we got to stop quitting. I call it quitting on your kid. Yeah, they got an attitude. Yeah, they say they don't want you around. Yeah, you find their diary or their journal and like, we hate you. They post, like, are you not supposed to like your parent? Like, watch this. Many of us, not a lot of us, some people like their job. You might just like your boss. Your boss is like, as soon as they walk by, but when you see them, but when, it doesn't make you quit the job, right? You
Yeah.
still work because your work ethic is the same. Why does I often think, and maybe y'all help me with this. Why is it that parents, when they get a difficult teenager or they teenager to go through the puberty stage, they're like, all right, man, I can't do it no more.
Well, I'm only in one
Yes.
so far. I've got a 12-year-old who is already in the puberty stage. So
I think she's gonna be all right. I think it's the other two. I'm kind of.
let me tell you, I don't believe in TVs in the room.
Nope.
I don't
Oh,
bel-
no.
like
I
didn't
all
have
this,
one.
like
Nope.
all this.
I didn't either.
I did when I was a kid, but I was an only child, and my mom worked 2 jobs. So literally,
Spoiled.
I mean, I had a. No, I wasn't spoiled.
No,
I
I'm just
mean,
saying you had a TV in your room.
Oh
man.
yeah, I mean,
Living
But-
the high life.
but the thing is like I believe in family time.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I do believe, if they want to have some time to themselves, that's great. But for the most part, if we're watching TV, we watch something that everybody can watch.
Yep.
If we're doing something, like, y'all know, every time you see me, I pretty much have a kid, if not 2, if not 3.
Right.
Like, we're always together because that's just kind of what that's what I think.
Standard.
Is that the only child thing? Because me too. Every night we watch Wheel of Fortune, and then we watch American Idol.
See, we're watching
every
Blue
Tuesday
Bloods
night.
and stuff like that. So
Definitely. Are you like that? Are you
That
like
only
that?
child thing. I don't know.
Yeah, you're not the only child, are you? You said your sister.
I got sisters, but they didn't live with me growing up.
Oh.
But it's transcended to my family too.
I
Like, we
Yeah.
grew up.
We're
at the only
together
child
every
in my
night.
house.
well, I mean, that's just kind of what I feel like.
Yeah.
If we're talking about what keeps
I watch TV
What-
by myself.
if we're talking about what keeps kids on the up and up, that's, and
That
I've
family
told my
time
kids
is key.
before when they're I hate you so much. I said, well, tell your therapist one day.
Mm-hmm.
I said, because let me tell you something. I'm doing the best job that I know I can do,
Mm-hmm.
and if I'm doing something wrong, I mean, sorry, I've done what I think I have to do at this point. Because I even said it on our last episode. Nobody has had to do anything in like we're having to do in 2024.
Not even.
No.
Nobody is having to deal with anything like we've ever seen.
Yep.
And literally, like y'all were saying earlier, it changes
Mm-hmm.
like from day to day and year from year. Like 2025 is going to look completely different than this year.
Hey, we're not trending well. It's extremely better. That's
I mean, I hope. I'm not saying that it's worse. It's just different. Like
Yeah.
everything
Yeah,
is
it's
so
just- it's evolving, it's
accelerated.
changing.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just everything is so accelerated. Like, even with, trying to help my kids when they were in school with math. And I'm like, I didn't learn this till, I was in like ninth grade or something.
I'm hoping
okay?
they're doing math now the way that I used to do it, because the way
They don't.
I used to. No, but
They're
like,
not.
I didn't do it
They're
the way
not.
you were supposed to back then. So I'm hoping now they do it my way.
Wait, did you take like a whole piece of paper to figure out
one
what
problem?
20
Oh, yeah, no, definitely not.
times 3 is?
No,
Because
for
they're
sure.
literally drawing boxes. Like if it's like 20 times 3, they will literally draw 60 boxes
Oh my
No.
gosh.
on the page and then count them. And I'm like,
I can't
it-
even know how to learn math. I just know.
I mean, I literally
Just get
I literally told my kids, I'm like, okay, I love
Oh,
that they're
no,
teaching you
no,
that,
yeah, no,
but let me
you-
show you how dad does it.
So you do this,
And I'm
then
like,
take
I'll
the
put-
number.
I'm like, I'll put, 20 and then 3,
Yeah.
a little X and a
Yeah.
line. I'm like, do the 3 times a 0,
Carry
3
the-
times
yeah.
a 2, bring the 0 down,
Done.
done.
yeah.
And they're like, whoa.
what?
Yeah.
What?
How'd you
They're-
finish this?
You're
so
supposed to
fast?
take the 2 and put it on the other side. I'm like, why would I do that?
Yeah.
And, it's just like, it's just insanity to me.
To
So-
your point, what you were saying earlier, both of you, about the lazy parenting thing, and that you just need to check out, put your child over here and just check out because you can't deal with them. I think a part of that too is because you were saying our generation, we're parenting in a way that no other generation had to. So there, in our generation, I feel like there's more people our age with more mental health issues,
Okay.
more
Oh, yeah.
depression,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that too.
more all that, and it's
For sure.
because growing up, I learned this the hard way. I don't know how it is for y'all, but it was
Mhm.
for me, and I think a lot of people experienced what I did. You didn't have somebody to teach you how to regulate your emotions.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Absolutely.
We do not know how to regulate those emotions. So it's very quick for our kids to just get on our nerve,
Yeah.
and we want them to go.
Yep.
I need you to go. Well,
fair.
by doing that, you're teaching that child now
Same.
to deal with the stuff that you're dealing with.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. 100%.
I like that.
Okay. I think two things. One is if we don't raise our kids, somebody's going to raise our kids.
Absolutely.
Friends, other people, whatever. it may
TV,
be.
internet,
TV.
Oh,
there's
social
all these-
media.
YouTube,
Well,
oh,
that's
social
If,
why-
media.
if we're not
that's-
raising them,
Yeah, that's how I was raised. I ended up, I'm not trying to cut you off.
yeah,
but
no.
I was raised with my grandparents. Yes, they raised me as far as they took care of me.
Yeah.
But as far as raising me,
Yeah.
I raised myself from watching TV, from listening to certain music, from reading certain books,
Yep.
and that's part of
And I think
I am the way I am.
I think that's the detriment when, we get to a place where we're just frustrated with our kid and we're like, I just don't even be around, because you were asking Trey, kind of why we do that. I think that when we do that, then somebody else is going to raise them. And I think a lot of times the reason we do it is because we don't give ourselves enough grace as parents.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I thought my parents had everything figured out. I thought when I became a parent, I would have everything figured out. I would know everything. It would be all perfect. And now I'm a parent and I'm like, my goodness, I don't know anything. I am so dumb.
That's every day.
And you just, so I think that we get so hard on ourselves, and then we're faced with a situation with our children that we're not trained for. We have no idea how to handle it. And instead of trying to work through it together, because we want to keep this facade of like having to have it all together, we just tell them to go and don't even take the time to work on ourselves to also then be able to help our children.
One of the things I used to preach to my parents when I met with them and they telling me all about their teenagers is tell them your story. Tell them how you screwed up.
Mm-hmm.
Tell them how when you were 17 what you did.
Mm-hmm.
Tell them. And they were like, wait, well, no, I can't. I said, no, you can, because they need to know that A, you can survive mistakes. And then the second thing, they need to know why you're so hard on them about certain mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Because I didn't know this. And my dad, God bless his soul, when he was alive, he was one of the most avid people about that. You can't get a B less than a B. A, got to have straight A's. You get a B, you're in trouble. I'm like, golly, like, why are y'all like this? Because I'm like that's, I'm like, I got all A's and A, B, and y'all tripping.
Yeah.
I know people who don't even show up to school. You know what I mean? They walk to school and they turn around. And then when he passed away, me and my granddad grew even closer than we were. And he said, yeah, your dad didn't graduate high school. I said, my dad? The one who dang near beat me to go to school? He's like, yeah, he didn't graduate. He had to do this and do this and do this. And he did this and do this and this. I said, my brain said, no, it makes sense. Because I was
He was
trying
pushing
to,
you
he
so
was
hard,
pushing me
yeah.
so hard because he
be
didn't, he
better
was
than
so,
him.
Would you be better? Yeah.
and if he would have just told me that, a lot of my attitude would have been adjusted, because I probably would have said at some point, man, I'm not you. He was like, I know, because I'm going to make sure you're not.
Yeah.
Even then, I would have been like, that's fair. You know what I mean? Because I was one of those kids, like, if it made sense, it made sense.
Right.
And a lot of the kids, when they find out stuff from other people about you and you didn't tell them, they were like, they'd be hard on me. Like, they ain't do this. It becomes a different attitude. But when you sit them down and say, the reason I'm so hard on you about this, especially when they become teenagers, is because I felt here. I felt here. I could have been better off here. You could have had this. You could watch this. Especially kids are a little greedy, a little selfish. You could have had this. But because I made these poor, bad decisions and whatever they may be, now you getting this.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to show you that you can always never be here, but you can be here. When kids understand how much you care about them, and not just from the standpoint that you provide for them, but you have lived a life of mistakes, you have fallen short, and you don't have all the answers. But I'm going to be here to make sure you find the answer because I couldn't. That changes everything.
Those were some of my favorite teachers when I was in school. And that's why, for some reason, I connect well with teenagers a lot. Is because of, what I dealt with.
Yeah.
The stuff that I went through and the stuff I dealt with. And I battled depression and I battled all these other, demons and stuff. I went through it. And so I just connect with them. And that's what I liked whenever I was in school, is when I had those teachers or those counselors that would just sit down and talk to me. That's all I mean. I'm not saying that
Crazy.
That works for every child. I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
But I am saying that.
The majority, though.
Majority, they want somebody to listen to them.
Right.
And tell them that, yeah, you did make a mistake, but you know what? I forgive you for it.
Watch this. And then
It's okay.
To your point is,
We can do better.
how many kids you think go home that's in, these workable, I call them workable families because they got so much going on, haven't heard I love you, haven't felt their parents hug them. Teenagers. Kids, we hug kids. Oh,
Yeah.
I hug my daughter every day. And I told my wife, I said, I hope she's going to get used to this because this is standard. and then watch this. So if I ask you, like you had somebody who sat down and say, not just generic question, how was your day at school? But like, hey, what are some things you find interesting today at school?
Yeah.
Well, this girl, she was doing this and doing this. Like, why was that? Why now you're getting the gossip, you're getting the bop. And you're like, well, why was that? Why does that intrigue you? Because now you're going to learn who they're trying to become.
Well, I was going to say, when you actually sit and listen to your kids talk,
Yeah.
which, I mean, I'll be the first one to say, sometimes I don't feel like hearing it. I love it. I love them. But, I was an only child, so I was the only voice.
Yep.
Yeah.
So when my mom wanted to talk to me, she was only hearing me. I have 3 kids. So if one of them wants to talk, all 3 of them want to talk and they want to compete.
Yeah.
So I don't even start getting the truth. I just start getting, oh, I talked to this kid today. Oh, well, I talked to 2 kids today. Oh, well,
Oh,
I
my
talked to
goodness.
3 kids
Yeah, the
today.
competition. Yeah.
It's always
Yeah.
always.
Yeah.
So, but when I actually, when you cut through all of that, again, when you're not being, what did you call it, Trey, at the sleep of the wheel, or what was it, coasting parent?
Post
parent.
parent.
Yeah, when you're not coasting and you're actually engaged to listen to what they have to say, you learn so much.
Yep.
It was like when my youngest son, when he was in 2nd grade, he got in trouble for telling someone to lick his wiener, and I was like, whoa, what?
Oh, no.
And I had to take the call from the 2nd grade teacher who, I mean, to her, this was the worst thing that could have ever been said. I mean, and I was
Did he
trying
mean
not
hot
to
dog
laugh.
or did he mean genitalia?
No.
He meant his
What do you
wiener.
think, Trey? Come
Maybe
on,
he's
man.
being innocent.
Hey, come.
Maybe he's being innocent.
He was being innocent because he was just repeating what other
he's
kids
heard,
on
yeah.
the playground were saying. Like, he didn't really understand that.
That
Like,
always reminds me of that movie for that guy. Ask me about my wiener.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you could have saw something like
I mean,
that and thought it was funny.
just the other day, my middle son, put his butt in his brother's face and was like, suck it. And I said, just for
His
the record, do you know what that means?
using it wrong.
I said, do you literally know what that means? And he's like, no. So I told him. I said,
Obvious.
so that's what you want? He's like, no. I'm like, well, then maybe you shouldn't say things you don't know what they mean. Like, I don't know where you picked that up, but maybe here's an idea. If you don't know what it means,
Don't say
keep your mouth shut.
Right.
I was like, because you just invited someone to assault you. So, I mean, literally, okay? You say that to the wrong person nowadays, you may just get what you asked for.
Oh,
Okay.
I mean, pull them down. You know, I mean, literally.
I've been watching you.
It's like when they're on
Anyway.
it's like when they're on these roadblocks games or whatever those things are, right? And they got like, you know, I didn't realize, okay, another parent fail. When you give your kid roadblocks, you can actually make it pretty safe. You can disable all the chatting and all this stuff. I didn't know that until probably a couple months in. I learned that. I was like, they all got mad at me after I learned that one and shut that down. Because I'm like trying to tell them, they're like, oh, I met this 9-year-old girl. I'm like, yeah, that's probably a 42-year-old man
Yeah.
Right.
trying to get you for a date.
Yeah.
And they're like, no. So I pull up all of these stories about where they've done like the catfishing thing, like, and they've caught these people on roadblocks specifically.
Got like Dateline.
And they're like, whoa, what? I don't want to see. They got mad at me for proving them that I was right. You know, because as a parent, that is the worst thing you could do to your kids is prove that you're right. Holy smokes. They find out you're right about it. They're like, they ain't never going to live that down.
Right.
You know, completely different than what you're talking about right now. But I was going to say, because I wanted to add on to what I was saying earlier about, you know, going through certain things and stuff. Me personally, because I had to deal with this too for other kids, is being a guy, we're taught a certain way when we're young. At least I was, is you don't cry, you don't really show emotions, you walk it off, you're tough, just deal with it. You're good. That created so many problems for me mentally and emotionally when I got older that, again, you don't know how to deal with, you don't know how to regulate your emotions. So I'm not saying that, I want my son to be a crybaby. I'm not saying that at all. Please don't be a crybaby. But I do want him to learn how to deal with his emotions.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I got a lot of anger problems and a lot of stuff. So, yeah, I mean,
Emotional intelligence for kids.
Yeah.
And parents.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because it kind of snowballs. So if you don't
Yeah.
learn how to handle your emotions when you're
Teach
younger,
Same thing you did.
yeah.
So if you're going to give, I guess we'll go around the room for closing remarks. If you were going to wish that you knew something in your current stage, wish that you knew something like back then when you started to that what you know now, and then any advice you might have for someone who's coming into where you're currently at in 2024 in this absolutely jacked up environment. You want to start OG Dustin?
I mean,
Older Dustin?
my kids are really young, 6, 5, and 3. So, I mean, honestly, I think that anybody who is having kids and they're not aware of it, they're gonna test your patience. I mean, they just are, and you got to learn how to be patient with them. I mean, because I know when everybody talks about the terrible twos, I'm like, the terrible twos, 3 is worse. It's the terrible 3s. 2 is a breeze.
And then you call it the
3.
effing 4s.
And then
That's
I'm
why-
like, and then when he hit 5, my 6-year-old, when he hit 5, I'm like, what happened to you? Like, you used to be so sweet and so nice. And so, yeah, I mean, that's what I would do. Be patient. Listen to them. There's going to come times where you're going to be like, man, I'll be glad when you're older. Man, I'll be glad when you're older. But do actually cherish those moments because
yeah, not wishing the time away.
because there will come a day when you're going to miss those hugs. You're going to miss that little voice, and
Yeah.
there's going to come a time. But we're definitely be prepared for your patience to be tested.
Man, I would say just be present, man. Be present for all those moments, big or small. Be present to those conversations, and I like I tell people all the time. Like I told y'all, I said it earlier. It's just like youth ministry jaded me so much to the point where I'm like, they need you,
Yeah.
even when they say they don't. Even say they don't want to hug, even though they smack their teeth and roll their necks, whatever it may be. That like I've had kids literally say don't and be so angry, and I just grabbed them like aggressively and hugged them and like, I love you, right? and they'll literally start crying in my arms, and say, "You just don't know what kind of day I had."
But did that jade you, or did it give you perspective?
Well,
'Cause that sounds more like perspective to me than jading. I mean,
the jading comes at when you have a conference about, you ask, people, have they been sexually assaulted, and you in this room full of kids, boys and girls, and you have a youth mentorship about 180 kids, and then like 70 of them stand up.
yeah.
Then I'm like,
I mean, unfortunately, that's a product of our
Environment.
time.
And so
I mean,
that-
that's
one out of
2024.
yeah. So like, and then 1 out of 4 kids are blameless, whatever. I want to get into all that.
Yeah.
No,
I'm just saying,
but-
like, unfortunately, again, that comes back to you have to helicopter parent your kids.
Right.
Where are you leaving them?
Right. And
Who
that's,
are they with?
and then so I'm really big on that. And then another thing in that is being present is that most of those kids didn't tell their parents. So we had to do a lot of healing with the parents too. And I would just say to just be present. Like they love you. They just don't understand everything else that's going on in their body. And it's our job to help guide them through that. We're not we're sheepdogs.
Yeah.
Is to bite them back on path sometimes and nudge them back on path, and then understanding that you don't know what you're going to get in 5 or 10 years, but you're going to give it the best that you got now. They love you. They appreciate you. They just don't know how to communicate well. Their brain is still developing. And we forget that because a teenager can cuss you out, that their brain is still developing. Doesn't stop until they're about 22. So just love them. Discipline. My stepdaughter, she said something. She said, "You're the only one that set a standard in a box for me to be in. Like a board, like, hey, no, you this choice or this choice. This is what you got."
Yeah.
And she said she had never been challenged like that. And so she'll, even now, like, when I'm mad at her, she's ashamed about
How old was she when you came into her life?
14. So I had
Wow.
right
That
at the
was
door.
Rough times.
Yeah, and so it was rough. And then but you have to stand by. Like, I would remind my wife, hey, you got to stand by a certain. You put her. I said, like, she hated me because like my wife would put her on punishment and forget. I'm like, nope, you're on punishment. I am. I said, you talk. I watched you put her on punishment, and she said, when you wasn't here, I was like, yeah, but I'm here. This is standard now.
Yeah.
And because that we had this real respect. She's like, when she does something wrong, she doesn't come around me. She'll come around everybody else, but she'll be like, hey, because she understands that my standard for her has always been great. When I enter her life, I said, I see how smart you are. I see how brilliant you are. I see how beautiful you are. And I said, you can have whatever you want, but here's your standard. And I said, but you keep making these choices. I said, as long as you keep making these choices, that's what you're going to stay. And she knows that. So she want to come around me until she make better choices.
It's the old show me your friends, I'll show you your future,
New-
Definitely not for her. So yeah, that's all I got.
the new Coach Saban.
I would love that.
Coach Saban.
That, man.
Go ahead, young Dustin.
Yeah, so I actually like that one. Out of all the nicknames we tried tonight, I think that one's the one.
Baby D.
Yeah, Baby D.
Baby D.
That's my wife's nickname for me. No,
Oh, man. Oh.
We don't need to hear how they were made, we're just talking about how to raise them here.
no, okay. So for me, I think one of the most important things to know that I wish I would have known earlier on, and I still have to remind myself daily now, is that it is okay not to know everything, and to make sure that you show yourself as a parent, that you show yourself grace, and that if something's happening, something's going on, or you miss some moments, or you mess up, or you lose your temper one time, to just don't allow it to stop you. Don't allow it to cause you to feel like a failure as a parent, but to continue to get better and to learn and to grow. And then I think that probably what I focus on the most right now, my kids are 6, almost 7 next week, 5 and 2. Yeah, a lot. All 3 boys, like
Close,
I said.
same age.
Yeah, scary. But I think what I'm seeing is that the little moments to us are big moments to them. So the little times that they just come up to me and they say, "Hey, will you play outside with me?"
Yeah.
I'm so busy, and I just got home, and it's been a very stressful day, and all hell has broken loose, and I want to say no so bad, and I used to say no, but something in me has changed where I've started to see that when I take that time, not only is it fun and great for them, but it's also kind of healing for me and helps put me in a better perspective and a better frame of mind, and why I'm doing what I'm doing in the first place, and helps me get refocused. And these little times, these little things that I've done, they'll come to me months later, years later, and say things that we did randomly one afternoon that I didn't think was a big deal at all. I had honestly forgotten about it, but to them it was like the best thing ever.
Yeah.
You know, the day I let them go and play in the puddles, because I'm very OCD, I'm very type A, I don't like messes. The day I let them go out and I said, yes, let's go play in the puddle when there was massive rain puddles outside. Like the little things to me that wouldn't really seem like they matter that much have meant so much to them. And I think it's important to realize how much your kids, they do watch you.
Yeah.
And they do look up to you, and they are kind of developing themselves a lot based on how you are. If you're constantly responding in anger, they're going to constantly respond in anger. If you're constantly responding in love and grace, they're going to have that as well. If you're showing grace to them, they're going to be more inclined to show grace to themselves if you're showing grace to yourself. So I feel like they're constantly watching, and we have to be careful how we're handling ourselves, even in the moments that we're not even dealing with our children, but just in our household as a whole, or dealing with other people when we're out and about. Sometimes we may want to lose our temper. Myself, if I'm out in public and somebody does something, just remembering that they are always watching, and a lot of who they are is going to come based off of not just what you've taught them, but what they've seen.
I feel really convicted right now. I'm not gonna lie. I should have not let you go. I should have let you go last. I wish I had already
I didn't even realize you hadn't went.
I feel really convicted.
I'm just because the very first point is we got to show ourselves grace. We got to show ourselves grace.
I'm just over here like, man, I'm so bad about a lot of those things. You know, as a parent, like
Yeah, I'm them too.
I'm just like, man, I need to check myself now.
Daddy, will you come?
Grace
play
and
with
space,
me?
man.
I really don't feel like it. Daddy's tired.
I don't even know if I can answer my own question now because I'm just like so messed up right now. But
Jeremy, your kids admire you because you don't
They do.
believe how many times in our session
They do.
Gabby would say, "Yeah, me and my dad was talking about this, and he said this," and like so, I know what kids are being parented based off my interaction with them.
yeah,
So-
I was gonna ask you off mic if. Trey, what do I need to work on? No. But no, I mean, you know, I try to be. I'm probably too honest with my kids, but you know, if I'm going to answer my own question of what do I wish I knew then, what I know now, and that was to be more of a helicopter parent. You know, like you were saying earlier, it's become such a naughty word. You know, and I think that actually is something that's almost happening to where people are trying to do, you know, because we've talked about before how, you know, whoever they are, you know, that are trying to take over, you know, a lot of the things, you know, it's almost like they have made these naughty words, you know, that make you feel like you need to step back. And so I wasn't all in like I should have been. And I feel like my daughter was exposed to things that could have been prevented had I been on top of it more. Now, I had already had those conversations, but I trusted, I didn't verify.
Yeah,
And with her being in school with, you know, everybody else, you know, I should have been verifying. I didn't verify. And that's probably my biggest thing of advice is that you have got to stay on top of technology. I never got to it, but talking about Google Classroom, and going back to they. Okay, I'm going to make this as quick as I can, but because we've already gone on like an hour and a half. Sorry if anybody's still listening, but this is a good.
Wow.
This is good. Like this is a good
I
conversation.
didn't realize it'd been that long.
And Dustin's falling asleep over there. I could tell, but look,
Into a
Which
pumpkin over
Dustin?
here. Yeah.
Which Dustin? Which Dustin?
young Dustin.
Okay, there you go. Baby D. Baby D.
So, you know, but Google Classroom, okay, I don't know if you guys are aware of Google Classroom, but they started coming out, like Google themselves started coming out with Google Classroom right before COVID, like probably a year, maybe 2 years before COVID. After COVID happened, skyrocketed. That's how everybody was doing their online schooling. Well, guess what Google Classroom's doing? Okay, they are controlling everything.
Yeah.
So they're controlling the algorithms because with Google Classroom, your kids can now do email with all of their classmates. So people that you think that your kids aren't seeing throughout the day, they can talk to them via email. I know this out of experience. They can do YouTube, they can Google, they can do all the Google stuff, all of the platforms.
unrestricted.
Well, that's up to your school. I thought my school, being as Gestapo as I thought they were, would stop that, but they didn't. They was still very accessible. And again, I tried to help fix that, and I was shut down. So, you know, that's why we made the decision we made. But, you know, if you have a kid that has a Chromebook, that Google is controlling your kid. They're controlling the algorithms. It has been proven, they've been sued over it, over the fact that they are mining emails, your kids' emails that they're sending back and forth. They're mining that because Google Classroom is like $5 a kid a month. It's so cheap. They're giving it so cheap because they're getting the information.
Yeah.
And this goes back to the big tech episode. They're taking the information. They're going ahead and making files on little Johnny that's, 6 years old. He's already got a file on what he likes to look at. He's got, personalized ads, the whole nine.
Yeah.
Like this is scary stuff. And this is what our kids are being exposed to. And I was asleep at the wheel. I knew the stuff was happening, but I was asleep at the wheel and I should have been on top of it. I should have never allowed it.
Yeah.
Honestly. And I kick myself for that because, again, being into technology, I should have been aware of that. And I've only recently, like I said, I've not been the same. Like the last half of this year so far has just messed me up.
But to be fair, until you just told us that, I had no clue
Yeah.
anything about that.
But
I
that's,
didn't know it existed.
Yeah.
well, thank God for y'all, you haven't had to, but you're coming into it, which is the advice part of my question that I'm answering is don't assume anything, especially when it's coming to technology. Like, even though I have screen time on my kids' phones, I still get on it every couple days just to check. I'm like, okay, is this still working?
Well, it doesn't surprise me at all, it being Google. I mean, just it being Google alone doesn't surprise me at all.
Again,
Because when we talk about whoever they are, I mean,
they are part of the they.
Google
Yeah.
is one of their biggest tools.
But I mean, that's
Can
part
we
of the,
get into how
I call it.
the danger of a
I
corporation?
call Google
being
the
so
big
involved in
evil.
schooling.
I mean, that's
we could keep
well,
this
I've always
episode
called
going as
Google.
long as you want. I mean, I could talk about this all day
that's
because,
what I've called Google forever, the big evil.
yeah,
I mean, Google is.
I mean, it's, but I'm telling you, the Google Classroom, it's almost like Google knew about COVID, because I mean, you look at all the, like, when my kids were in a different school system before, and when COVID happened, Google Classroom was not part of that county. And then all of a sudden, probably about a week in, all of a sudden it was like everybody's using Google Classroom, and they had gone ahead and signed on to it as a school. Well, Google was giving it out for free at that time during COVID just to lock everybody in.
Yep.
And then they start charging for it. But it's all in the name of mining the kids' information.
Yep.
And they're controlling their algorithms. Like they know that little Johnny is on YouTube, your YouTube Shorts or whatever. So they're controlling that algorithm too. And they're controlling what they see.
Yep.
They're controlling what videos pop up, what ads pop up, all of it.
If we're still around here in 2034, it's gonna be scary, bro.
Yeah.
Scary.
Well, anybody else have anything, or we want to?
Just destroying with the Google Classroom.
Uh-oh.
My brain is like, what?
Yeah, I mean, do some research on it. I mean, we could do. I'm ready to do a whole nother big tech episode because, that was our, before this episode was our longest episode, and I'm telling you, you could do it for days.
Yeah.
Because there is so much and it's not even conspiracies. It's literally facts.
Proven. Yeah.
I mean, you can literally look up these facts and they're from reputable sources. Just like I'm telling you this stuff about Google Classroom, it's verified. Like there's lawsuits, the whole nine that have been won.
There's lawsuits
everything.
with Google over
So-
Gmail.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean,
So
a lot of people don't even use Gmail anymore because of it. I mean, it's better to use set up an email address from really a no-name email account.
yeah. Just like we have the No Name Podcast email address, which if you see it in the link or in the description, you can click on it.
Yeah.
Send us an email, especially if you've listened to Trey and you need some help with your kids. I mean, he's like the youth man, so
Yeah.
he would be happy to entertain.
Naming,
Do what?
naming the teenage whisperer. I don't know about that.
We've heard some stories, but
They listen to me sometimes.
well, we appreciate everybody for listening this week, and
Like and subscribe. I was on good behavior in this one, guys.
No, he keep calling names. I'm trying to tell you. When Dustin disappears, I'm
Yeah.
telling you.
Can we be clear?
OG
It's not Baby Dustin.
It's not Baby
This
D.
is OG Dustin.
Big
Not
Dustin.
Baby D. Not Baby D.
He called out Black Rock last week.
Oh no! Don't
Black
start
Rock.
calling it
No,
out in
you
this
can't say
episode.
names, bro.
We're gonna bleep it out.
I don't know what he OG Dustin.
Oh, gee.
Thanks everybody for listening.